At the beginning of the story, we are shown two attractive actors named Hua Rim and Bongil, who are shamans often dealing with mystical problems. They are called because of sick child who cannot be cured by the hospital.
죄송하지만 저희만 있을 수 있을까요? 네.
Then the ritual takes place with chanting mantras.
천존원 신중구령 합을 소지 1월 천생 2월 무여 3월 현주 4월 정중 5월 혈단 6월 내내 7월 단원 8월 태영 9월 영돈
And this is Ex Huma. Briefly, we are introduced to a shaman who specialized in grave matters, performing a grave excavation ritual named King Sangdeok and Young Jin. This can shift when they meet at Kim Sangdeok's residence, where Hwarim needs help with the problem from the beginning of the story, promising that if he can solve this problem, he will pay handsomely by the wealthy person.
언니들이 서로 데리고 다닌다고 하긴 버릇 나빠지다.
얼마만이냐? 한 3년 됐나?
Here we are shown that their family disagrees with digging up their grandfather's grave, but due to the pressure of their child's continuing illness, they finally decide to use shamans to solve the problem.
알면 되는 거다.
This can then shift when the shamans come to see the family's burial site. Upon arrival, they are surprised by an unusual burial that shouldn't even exist there, with an eerie atmosphere and the presence of several wolves. Suddenly, Kim Sangdeok cancels the grave excavation because it is a cursed grave where tampering with such a cursed burial can endanger their lives.
너 꼬라지가 났네, 자식.
형님!
지멋대로.
However, with the family's persuasion, who desperately needs their help, and Hwarim's confessing word, there is a child that needs to be saved, they finally agree to take the job.
비슷한 일을 하시나요?
우리 딸아이는 카이스트에서 우주공학 전공해서 지금 독일에서 항공회사 다니고 있어요.
이래서 꼰대들하고 일하기 힘들다니까.
야,
아니 애가 아프다잖아. 네?
The Saiyans move to the ritual process of digging up the grave with special dances to ward off evil spirits in the cemetery. They prepare pork and chicken meat to lure the evil spirit from the cemetery into the pork. Strange, but that's the form of ritual they perform. Finally, after a long process, the grave is lifted for cremation. After the coffin is carried, suddenly there appears a snake with a human head that screams. The atmosphere suddenly changed, accompanied by heavy rain, and finally, the cremation process for the coffin is postponed.
가자.
The coffin is torn, but suddenly someone tries to open it, and then an evil entity emerges from the coffin, chasing Hwaram to feign you, the cruel evil spirit.
선생님, 저기요! 선생님 괜찮으세요?
These spirits then come to their family's house to kill family members one by one. Starting with their children and grandchildren, it turns out the spirit is full of hatred.
기춘애가 돌아놓을 것이었겠다. 여우가 밤에 허리를 끊었다고.
Because none of their family members helped them in that grave, as it was a cursed grave that made their spirit deeply hate there. Finally, although the rain hasn't stopped, the coven must be destroyed so that the spirit doesn't continue to haunt with the family consent. The coven is finally burned.
가장하세요.
예. 태워라.
A few days later, Kim Sang-deok visits the house of the person who dug up the grave because he feels constantly haunted by that grave after killing the snake at the burial site.
될걸. 형님, 나 부탁 하나 할게요. 그 반잘린 뱀 좀 찾아서 치석 좀 드려줘요.
Then Kim Sang-deok goes to visit the grave to look for the snake and is shocked when he sees the human-headed snake and is even more surprised because there turns out to be double burial buried right below the wealthy family coffin.
저게 사람감 맞아?
Briefly, they leave the coven and place it in a Buddhist temple, and they sleep. But one of the shamans experiences a dream visited by deceased Buddha. Then he reads mantras so that the spirit disappears. Bonjour then checks the coven but is distracted by the screaming of a pig. They finally examine the coven and are shocked to see it damaged due to something inside it. This is the first time you see the terrifying ghost of a general who comes to take his helmet and wants to be served salmon with lemon. The shaman runs in fear after seeing the figure, and here we can see how terrifying the general ghost is. And then we see the general transform into fire, which is in Indonesia we know as Banaspati.
도망가.
大十六が特別来所は表彰は「
Briefly, they arrive at the hospital where Huarim tells the shaman about the intensity of the ghost, which she says is neither human nor animal. They send Sif to the hospital where the shamans lure the evil spirit in Bonjel but to speak. Here we learn a little that the cruel general figure was able to slash more than 10,000 enemies at the time.
빨리 말해. 씨발로.
만닝어 기리코로시 카미니 나라레타 와가 토노요.
Then the Saints move to Kim Sang-deok, trying to find the cursed Iron State, but how shocked he is when he finds the general corpse that was actually buried there. Briefly, they want to lure out the general ghost to find the cursed Iron State. Finally, they stay up all night, and yes, the general finally comes out of the grave to eat the fish they have prepared. Finally, each of them prepares in their respective places, where Huarim tries to trick the general ghost by pretending to be the guardian spirit of the mountain who feels disturbed by the presence of the general ghost. However, it turns out Huarim is discovered that behind the tree is actually human, and the case become inevitable. Finally, Huarim falls from the tree because he feels he has been discovered. The general returns to the Graven, but it turns out Kim Sang-deok is still there, reaching to find the cursed Iron State, and Kim Sang-deok nearly loses his life due to a stomach stabbing by the general's ghost. Then we see in the past where the cursed Iron State was actually inserted into his body. Suddenly, one of the shamans remember how to defeat the general ghost by using blood samurai of the axe, and finally, they defeat the ghosts.
땅으로 들어간다.しもべになるか。さもなくば肝を取り出すか。刻まれし金剛の今日を覚え終わりて500年が過ぎておる。땅 속에
중요하신 유자는 최선들을 차지하고 대방적 동공장 물러내어 분이
물에 젖은 나무다. 물은 불을 이기고 젖은 나무는 쇠보다 질기다.
언니 잠깐만. 피가 검어.